You're right, Gangrene UK. You're joining us for episode 61, and I'm talking to Otis and James, and we're going to do a bit of a review. Couldn't get my words out on the Ravens game in week 1. Welcome along, guys. How's it going, Otis?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Very, very good.
And I feel like I've not seen you since Sunday, James. How are you doing?
It's been a while, mate. Yeah, I'm all good, mate. All good.
So, straight off the bat, guys, we've got to get it out there. How are we feeling? Otis?
Okay, really. Didn't go into week 1 expecting to beat the Ravens. Thought the defense was going to be as good as it was for the Ravens, and expected us to struggle a little bit, especially with Flacco coming in. When I'm sure they were planning to have Zach in there all off season, so that definitely reduced the playbook a bit, I think. But otherwise, I was extremely pleased with our defense. Our defense looks so improved. Yeah, fantastic.
And you, James?
Yeah, no, it's similar thoughts. I didn't think it'd be a winnable game, but the noticeable thing is that defense, like that Ravens team last year and the year before, would have just cut through us like butter, and it really, until the second half, they did their job. So I think we can pull out some results with a defense like that.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. I don't particularly like these reviews when they're done straight after the game or the next day, because you're still a bit emotional. You're still a bit miffed off. Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, on Sunday I wasn't miffed. I was a little bit disappointed, but obviously we had the event. There was a lot happening. There was quite a few people there, so it was a nice atmosphere. It wasn't all doom and gloom till you go onto social media, and then you're ready to jump under a bridge, or jump off a bridge. Sorry, hide under a bridge.
Both.
But yeah, all in all, it doesn't feel like a bad week, and it wasn't. It was a loss, and I will get on that. It was a loss. We didn't get defeated. We lost it, but there was a lot to take away from it.
Yeah.
Before we do get on to like the actual game, I didn't want to talk about I seen something on the social verse, because I can't remember what I saw it on, that a lot of people upset with Rob Saleh and him reporting injuries inaccurately. Now, personally, I think the one with Zach, when Zach got injured, we were told week 4 was when he was coming back. Then 6 days before the game, it's, Zach's back at practice. He might play this weekend. Did either of you expect Zach to play this weekend? Gone.
No.
In honesty.
No, personally, no.
Otis?
No, and I think with Saleh and the way he is as a person and as a coach, his approach has always been and will always be eternal optimism. And I think he potentially gets himself into a bit of hot water with the injuries occasionally, with that optimism of people being back pretty quickly. But at the same time, I think if we were the Buffalo Bills, if we were the Kansas City Chiefs, and we needed our quarterback to go and win every game to get us to the Super Bowl and to win the title, I think Zach would have played week 1. I think Saleh knows where we're at. He knows the team we are, and I don't think there was a need to risk him. Why would you? We're not going to win the Super Bowl even if Zach plays all 17 games. If he plays 15 great games, fantastic, but we're still not going to win the Super Bowl. I think it's horses for courses, and I think Saleh, forever the eternal optimist, and I think understanding the situation and playing it safe with Zach as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get upset. I wasn't expecting him back till week 4. I was a bit shocked to hear him at practice. But actually, I don't mind the coach coming out and saying, he might suit up. Yeah. Because it's that mind game that they did with us with Stanley.
Yeah, they don't know if he's going to be playing or not playing, do they?
Yeah. So they have to prepare for both options. It was the same as us. We had to prepare that Kyle Lawson was going to be going up against Stanley all night. And let's face it, we all kind of knew he wasn't going to. Yeah. But because they said he was still, right, I kind of have to be ready for that. It was one that I kind of thought, you know what, we don't talk about it enough. And Saleh seems to be getting a lot of hate at the minute for his press conferences. I love them.
Yeah, he's very optimistic, isn't he? Which I think some fans then get their expectations far too high, and then they're like, "Oh, well, you promised this and you didn't do it," and it's like, well, I'm always going to say my guys are going to win. I'm always going to say that we're going to throw for 500 yards, and he's going to hype his guys, right?
I mean, I'm the ever optimist. It's very rare that it's shit for me, but yeah, I'm all good. So I like that approach. And that was the first swear bomb of the day. Goes to me. So where do you want to start with the game then, guys? Do you want to do stats? Do you want to do players? Do you want to do anything interesting that happened? I'll let you call it, James. Do you want
to? I think offensive line's a good spot to start. I would say. I read this. I'll get it up now. It was a stat that PFF did on 17 of his dropbacks with no pressure. Flacco was 13 for 15, and then on 22 of his dropbacks, he was with pressure. He completed just 26.3% of his passes on that. So I think that's a big.
It's the 17 when he was blitzed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he saw the blitz come in and he was pretty accurate, 13 of 15. Yeah. His numbers aren't bad. And I did this really sad thing. I went back through all of the stats on Flacco's career. That man doesn't throw over 300 yards often. He's not known for it. Like even the year he won the Super Bowl, he only threw over 300 4 times in the actual season. So to get, I think it was 307 he ended on. That's asking quite a lot of him. But we did have 79 offensive plays. They had 53. They were just more accurate with theirs.
And had shorter fields.
Yeah. I didn't even go on the field one and thought that would be depressing, if I'm being totally honest. And I'm not that way inclined. It's the O-line. Did we expect it to be that bad? Or did they deliver what we all kind of thought was going to happen? Is this an issue that we need to address, or will this get better with more time? Always.
I think we've got to be careful calling it a big issue at this point. They were expecting Dwayne Brown to start up until a day and a half before the game, and they were expecting Fant to be at right tackle. That means Laken Tomlinson was expecting Brown to be next to him, and AVT was expecting Fant to be next to him, and all of a sudden that flip-flopped. I have no real qualms with the tackles per se. They both got beat a few times, but I think as they get used to being where they are and they get used to playing next to the guards they're next to, I think that'll improve. My biggest disappointment really was seeing a guard that we paid big bucks for come in and get beat like a drum, and AVT that we invested a massive amount of capital in get put on his ass by Calais Campbell a few times. I appreciate Campbell's an incredible defender and has been for a long time, but there's a good reason that they're shouting about AVT's run block, not about his pass block.
Max Mitchell, how are we feeling about him, James?
Well, to be fair, he probably put in one of the better games, to be fair. I think it was only 2 pressures allowed. It was probably because they were attacking the inside, but I think he had an okay first game. I'd rather have a veteran there and let him, learn for a year. But I suppose if we've got to roll with him, doesn't seem like the worst option. Should have said it.
I think he offered great. Yeah, he offered great value when we picked him. I don't think we can have any complaints about Mitchell. I think if, as James says, if he manages to play that well every week and only allows 2 pressures, and the rest of the offensive line can sort itself out, we haven't got a huge amount of problems. I think, what was it? We let in something like 20, 25 pressures in total, I think, didn't we, throughout the game?
I think it's somewhere around that.
So if you're saying
it's not on that. I was just looking at the stat sheet that he had.
If he only accounted for 2, and I think it was about 20 pressures, something like that. So if he only accounted for 2, there's a lot of other people. What was that, mate?
Sorry, 22 pressures.
It was 22, and he accounted for 2, so less than 10% was a rookie right tackle. I think the other 4 lads need to be having a look at themselves and going, hang on a minute, this kid's showing us up and he hasn't been here more than 6 months. It's not great from the rest of the line more than it's a damning thing of Mitchell, I think.
Yeah, I mean that I think that is the big talking point of the game, is how bad the O-line was, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom.
No,
Everything that we've covered, like, I'm not ready to go out and spend a load of money on anyone. There's nobody out there that's any better than what we've got.
No, and the other thing I think to remember as well is that they have one of the best fronts in the league. The defense is renowned for always being good in Baltimore. And the other thing as well is they have a fantastic linebacking core that blitzes very well. And we were blitzed a lot. The amount of times Patrick McQueen was running at the line as opposed to away from the line was unbelievable. We'll come on to that a bit later. You know my thoughts on spreading the field potentially. So
yeah. I mean, it's one of those games, right, where I find it really frustrating, because if you look at the box score and you said which team won this game, you would pick the Jets.
Yeah, in terms of stats and moving the ball.
Yeah. Total yardage, Jets outdone them. It was 4 yards, but it's total yardage. We held Lamar and the Ravens to 63 rushing yards. That's the least that any Lamar pro team has ever taken in a game. So that run defense that we don't have did okay.
Yeah.
We will cover a little bit on that later, but the run stop was a lot better.
Yeah.
Turnovers, we had 2, they had 1. Third down efforts, we 2, 5. I couldn't see that there. It went a bit blurry. So they did it when it mattered for me. Well, they extended a bit better than we did. But 295 passing yards is what they've give Flacco to 211 Lamar.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, like, nothing on the game breaks my heart.
No, I don't think it's all doom and gloom about the game, certainly. There's some positives there.
So O-line, we kind of covered. The run stop, were we happy with that?
Yeah, massively. I think he contained Lamar, and he had to throw home at like the second half. They just had to commit to throwing because they weren't getting anything on the run. So I'm quite happy with that.
I was pleased with the run stop, but I'm holding off for a week or two before I go too crazy. Let's be honest, the Ravens didn't have a running back that they expected to be playing on their roster to even suit up the game. J.K. Dobbins was hurt. The backup Gus Edwards was hurt. They had to play Kenyon Drake, who, okay, I like Kenyon Drake. I don't think he's a bad running back, but he hasn't been there more than 3 months to get into the system. I don't think he's been that long. So yeah, I'm not getting too high on that at the moment. The bit that I was more pleased by than just the run stop was just the overall play of the front seven. The front seven actually looked like they were playing as a group together. Linebackers were picking up gaps. Defensive ends were containing the edges, and the tackles were staying in the A and B gaps to stop Lamar coming forwards. I was more impressed with the pocket contain than the run stop itself.
No, it's fair. I mean, it's just one of them that I wanted to bring up because obviously going into it, that was the big thing to talk about. Like, Lamar was going to run all over us. He was going to show them why he wants 290 million, not 250 million. And I don't really feel like he did that.
He threw the ball pretty well, but I don't think he was anything particularly marvellous, was he?
No, but I mean, I think his rating's 98.3. That's not...
It's not huge.
30 million contract. Not at all. Not when you're only getting 17 yards on 6 attempts.
Yeah.
Like, that would be fine if they were all 4th and goal and 4th and short, but they're not. So, yeah, I think when we look at that, there is 2 sides of it. It was vastly better, but you are right, it was a depleted core. But Kenyon Drake being in and Lamar, they still should have done better than that.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree.
Then we have to talk about the mistakes in the game. We'll start off with the big one because it was a bad weekend for kickers. I mean, I've heard Ocho has just made them all 0 and they've got to earn it back. How do you feel about the kicking situation, James?
Here we go again. I just thought Greg would have been a safe option. To be honest, he's been pretty safe the last couple of years, and of course he misses his first kick with the Jets. So, he hit his next one. He did miss that PAT at the end. So just see how he goes next week, man. But hopefully he gets back to his normal form.
Yeah, it's strange because he can make a 45 like that, and any time, like, he's that one player that over the years, if you put him out there and we're like, move 5 back, score, move 5 back, score, you'd be like, he's going to take a fair amount of kicks. He's not going to drop it early. And then that kick, and then the extra point. I mean, misses an extra point. I can score an extra point.
Go steady.
Well, honestly, I'm a pretty good kicker. It's the only thing I can do. I'm Little Anna. Got a good centre of gravity. How do you feel about the kicker, Otis?
Yeah, disappointed to see him miss. Bit of a difficult one. I don't want to cut him too much slack, but I suppose it's a new holder, a new long snapper for him, and a new team. Yeah,
he has been here all of camp.
Yeah, I don't want to cut him too much slack, really. But no, I the problem is I don't think there's enough good kickers about the NFL to be that fussy. You've just got to accept that your kicker's going to miss some because the ones that don't miss get paid a fortune and aren't available. So until we decide that we're at a point where we can draft one in the 4th round or the 5th round or something like that, I don't think we're going to see the Jets with a kicker that you can go, he's going to make everyone. And even ones that are drafted in the 4th round apparently miss some occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, this weekend was just bad for kickers. I'm going to kind of say it was just a bad kicking weekend all around.
Just mental, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, did you see, I think there was a penalty in the Chicago game because they dried the ground with a towel.
Yeah.
Right? The pitch was a pool. It was probably safer for them to do that. But obviously, you're not allowed to improve the lie.
Yeah, as a person that loves old school ground and pound football and defense and smacking the crap out of each other, the San Fran Bears game was just such an entertaining watch. It was grown men getting dirty and smacking hell out of each other. That's all it was. I mean, they couldn't do anything else.
I watched the build-up report to it, and they were talking about like it's imported grass. I'm like, dude, it ain't gonna make any difference.
There's no grass left. It's imported mud now, my friend.
Yeah. So you look at it, and essentially that was 4 points that were left on the board that they should have been onto us. Now, it doesn't change the result of the game, but it does make a very different game when those happened.
Yeah, it adds a bit of momentum as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Then, do we want to talk interception or fumble first?
I think interception was, as it happened first in the game and was so pivotal in terms of them getting a touchdown, I think is important, isn't it?
Right. What did we see? Because I know you've got an opinion on it.
Just a really bad mistake from Flacco, I think, is about what we saw. And normally, I'm the first one to try and give a bit of an in-depth analysis to it. But on this occasion, I think it was unfortunate because Cager fell over. But I'm not sure that he placed the ball well enough for it to be a completion anyway. Cager was going to have to go up and fight for that thing anyway. And the DB might have beaten him for it. It was high. It wasn't on Cage's body. It's not like the DB was on the floor when he went up for the damn thing. He was, 8-9 feet in the air when he caught it. Even if Cage was on his feet, he was going to have to elevate massively. I'm not convinced it was a great throw. It was just
I think even Flacco has said it wasn't a great throw, and he went. But I also don't think when I watch it back, I would have made another decision.
Yeah, well, but that's it. I think Cage. I think he was pretty confident Cage coming out of his break was going to be a good choice, but you just can't envision someone falling over, can you? That's where timing routes in the NFL break down. you've got to trust the guy's going to be there, and if he isn't, you look like a twat. And that's just what happened. Timing right, he threw it as he was in his break, as you're supposed to, on time, and he just falls over.
It's MetLife turf,
right? Yeah, just football, right?
It's MetLife turf. Like, I'm scared to go to the stadium and do a stadium tour in case I fall over and break my leg. I have to get proper insurance.
UCL.
But there was another knee injury in the game as well. And it was a running one. The Ravens cornerback or safety went down when Elijah Moore pushed off, caught the touchdown and got it brought back. He went down with a knee injury that they wouldn't show the replay. I've watched it, and as he goes, his leg stays still. It's awful. MetLife turf, guys. MetLife turf.
Foot caught in the turf.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think some of it was also down to the fact that Elijah Moore pushed off and he kind of like went the other way.
Yeah, buckled a bit.
Yeah, the interception, when we were all together, we weren't massively upset by it because we saw the fall and we kind of agree that it was one of them. It's just a mistake. Like, the only thing is, I'm setting this in this league now. You see more interceptions. They're not as big a deal as what they were 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, defensive backs have improved
But
massively.
it's also the fact you throw more get picked. Simple.
Yeah.
It's that thing, law of averages.
Yeah, and they're taught to catch them now. Like, there was a time when corners were coming back into the league and from college into the league. And the whole reason they played corner was because they couldn't play wide receiver because they couldn't catch. Like, that was the reason they played the damn position. It's not like now they play corner because it's a good position, it's well paid, and they've got some serious skills. It's not just that, oh, you can't catch, mate, you've got to go play corner. It's not that anymore.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate that one came at the wrong time and it turns over.
Yeah.
Bryce's fumble. Now, for me, this was the worst play of the game from an ability standpoint. Because that ball is in his hand as a running back. That ball is safe. He gets it, he brings it in. He caught it and turned with it still out from his body, which is where he got fumbled. Like, everything about the way he caught that ball was not what he does. And just that was it. Like, he had a good first game, but everybody else had a better game than him because of that play for me. I always have a hot take, guys. That was it. To myself, right up to that point. How do you feel about it, James?
Pardon me. Gonna chalk it up as a rookie mistake, hopefully, not to be happening again. I think he only dropped 3 in college, and maybe that was just getting away with something that he could have got away with in college, but in the NFL, you're going to get the ball knocked out of your hands. So, I think he looked okay for the rest of the day. Carter was definitely the better of the two, but hopefully just a rookie mistake.
And Otis has got the smile on because he disagrees. What he always does. What we saying, Otis?
What an underwhelming best overall draft pick in the whole of running back class. It just underwhelming, full stop, right? He got outperformed by a 4th round pick.
6.3 average, 38 yards, 2 less than Carter on 1 less carry. His longest was 16.
But
that's in receiving.
A lot of his yards come later in the game when the game was already lost.
Mm-hmm.
When it mattered, when we were playing early downs, Carter looked far better. He had one good run early in the game where he broke through the line and had a really nice cut. I think there's loads of ability there. I don't disagree with the ability. My concern is that, as I said, when we drafted him, it's a lot of capital in a position that you, in theory, didn't need. And if Carter keeps playing like that and Hall keeps doing stuff that he's doing, very quickly people will be like, why the hell did we draft him instead of drafting the tackle?
Michael Carter had a 100-yard game.
Yeah, but it's not just a 100-yard game, is it? It's looking open regularly in the pass game. It's running hard. It's making people miss. Hall, yeah, the not covering the ball up is a cardinal sin, right? You're a running back. The first thing you do is put 2 hands on the ball and cover the damn thing up.
But that's the thing. You never ever see him not cover that ball up. Like,
That was an awful mistake.
we watched so much of him last year, like just messing around looking at college stuff, and we were like, this kid is dynamite holding the ball. He'll never drop it. And his first game, it's like, don't forget your fundamentals.
Yeah, fundamentals. That's it. And that, yeah, I still think the kid's got loads of potential. But when you're the best running back in the draft and you should have gone in the first round, you've got to come in week 1 and you've got to put up yards and you've got to look the deal.
You've got to do what Saquon did.
Yeah, you don't get outplayed by a 4th round pick, which is what he did. That's my concern.
No, absolutely. I mean, we are hoping he develops into something else. Well, no, not something else. He is what he is. We know he's got the ability. We're hoping that grows.
You're hoping he turns into Jonathan Taylor, right? That's when you invest that much capital in somebody, you hope that Jonathan Taylor. That's what
I would like to see both of them just average 100 yards a game.
Be nice.
Well, yeah, but you look at it. Carter, 60 yards on the ground and 40 in the air. Hall, nearly 40 in the air, but only 23 on the ground. If we get them up to 200.
And Carter, if he hadn't looked at the end zone instead of looking at the ball, if he'd looked at the ball instead of looking at the end zone, he'd also had a touchdown. Yeah,
well, that's the next one of what a running back in a receiving role drops the ball in the end zone.
He was just looking for the end zone, wasn't he? He was just short, wasn't he? And he was going to have to turn upfield. And receivers do it, running backs do it, tight ends do it, and it's again fundamentals. I just had to go at Hall for it. Carter exactly the same. He saw the ball come in, checked if the end zone was clear, thinking that's where I'm going. The ball gets on him and he drops it, and he can't do that. Admittedly, the one thing that I will say about that ball is it was too low. He shouldn't have been bending down to catch that. He should.
It was going testicles as opposed to numbers.
Sorry.
It was going testicles as opposed to numbers.
Yeah, he should be catching that in front of him at chest height and just trotting into the end zone like he's,
that was the first time in a game where I've wished there was another player in position.
Yeah.
Like if that had been Berrios, we were scoring there.
Yeah.
Like it's just that thing you just look at it and go, damn, if Berrios had that route.
Yeah.
But the wide receivers, you know what? Right? I'm gonna say it. Corey Davis still can't catch in the first, but he pulled it out the rest of the game.
He played, he had a good game.
Like, I will take that. When he shows something, it's when he doesn't do anything and then kind of fizzles. 77 yards, 12.8 average. His longest was 17 on 6 receptions.
Yeah.
That's pretty much every single one of them at over 10 yards. You know what? That's Corey Davis in that game was Mr. First Down.
Well, and the nice way of looking at that is if he does that for 17 games, he's a 1,000-yard receiver, right?
Yeah. And then you go Garrett Wilson, 4 for 52, 13 average, Mr. First Down. Right? Elijah Moore, 5 for 49, 9.8. You know what? I'm going to give him them inches, Mr. First Down. That's why we had so many bloody first downs, because every time they freaking caught the ball. But then Carter and Hall were both like 6 yards each on receiving.
You don't mind that on a dump off, do you? That's fine.
Well, we all love the fact that Berrios is the dump off man. He's 7.4 on dump off.
Yeah,
so you know what? We look at that and go, actually, every one of our receivers, even Conklin was 3.5. But he got the touchdown.
Caught a good touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he also missed the touchdown, but I'm not causing that one because it was just a breakdown play. But all in all, wide receivers, we knew they were going to show something. I think it is just that thing of now giving, this goes a little bit back to the O-line of giving a little bit more time, but Flacco did look a little bit slow going through some of those deeper reads because we know he can't throw that deep.
So this is probably a good time for me to bring up what I did before the video. I think as a team and as a play calling experience for Matt LaFleur, I think there's so many teams now in the NFL that have an okay line but win a lot because they spread the field out. For the first time in a long time, we've got 4 wide receivers, we just mentioned them all, that can all play the game and can all start. rather than max protecting and hoping that you can stand up to a blitz, spread the defense out, make them take defenders off the field that can rush you, and make them put defensive backs on there. The Jets need to be looking at getting those 4 guys on at the same time, Moore, Wilson, Berrios, and Davis, and going, okay, you're not going to have all day to throw it, but you know these guys are going to win. So just get it to one of them, because spreading them out will inherently give easier matchups to the offensive line, and it will also make defensive ends run when they've got to cover a running back in the flat or whatever it might be. I think it's great to max protect occasionally and go for deep routes, but we max protected in the one situation against the Ravens. The 2 receivers that were on the field both run verticals, so Flacco had nothing but a deep throw, and they ended up with 8 offensive linemen blocking 8 Ravens. Well, you may as well have had 5 offensive linemen blocking 5 Ravens and giving 4 people to throw to, because at least he'd have stood a chance. You know, you've got to spread the field out a little bit.
Yeah, and do you feel like they're maybe holding that for Zach? Because then if they do make it through, he's a little bit more mobile, he's better on the roll. And then if he does have that 4, you've got the threat of his leg and the fact that he's got 4 targets with space who, let's face it, you don't want to run any of them down. Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and Berrios are all fast mofos.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even chase him on a Vespa.
I think it's definitely a reduced playbook because of Joe Flacco, but I don't think that's Flacco's fault. I think they've prepared all off season for Zach Wilson, and everything that is geared up by Matt LaFleur, everything is geared up, ready to go for Zach Wilson. And I think they're all aware that he's going to be back pretty soon. They're not going to reinvent the playbook for the sake of 3 weeks. They're just going to wait and give him what he can do and just go, right, Zach, you're in, let's go.
How are you feeling on that side of it, James? Like, do you kind of agree that it is limited because of Flacco's ability?
Yeah, I think so. But then I was going to ask the question, what do you think about the play calling up 59 throws with Flacco when you seem to have some okay runs in the first? I know you kind of playing to get back in it, but I don't know. It seemed that they were just, that pass rush was coming every play, and we were still calling, pass after pass. It didn't make much sense to me. So
yeah, I don't disagree either. I think they did probably leave the run a little bit too early, but then I suppose at the same time, when you look at Breece Hall's production and Carter's production, you're talking 89, 90 yards. So you're probably not far off the number of yards you want to be attaining. And I think between the two of them, they had about 35 carries, didn't they? So 35 carries.
16 carries, rushing attempts.
Between them both?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was more, but when I looked at the numbers, and Joe Flacco had 1 for 0.
Yeah,
well, it's 0.
Yeah, it's definitely not enough then. You need to be running. You need to be running the ball 25 times a game.
But we had 59 offensive snaps, and we ran it on 16 on a team that is meant to be run heavy.
Yeah, it's not enough. James is definitely right. They abandoned the run too early. Getting behind didn't help that. But when you're getting 6 yards to carry off the 2 running backs, just give them the ball. Let them run until they prove they can stop it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who comes on or watches any of our stuff or comes on a Twitter space gets sick of me saying that I'll take a defeat, but I don't like a loss.
Yeah,
this feels like a loss because I think the safety play was below average. It might be down to the fact that in the past we have been spoilt with safety play. Like, that's probably been the highlight of our seasons, the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
maybe not so much last year, but it had flashes. The TD, I think it's the second TD where we talked about it earlier. Where I don't know, that feels like that was an easy one to stop, which changes the game again. We're not, like you've just said there, if you're not chasing the game, if it's only 1 score, you're not chasing, you can pull it back with 1 score. When it's 2 scores, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Where do you sit on the safety play, James?
think that play in particular was pretty bad. But another huge one is the Joyner penalty, where Lamar threw that ball, which I don't think the receiver even had a chance on. And I believe it was 3-0 at that point, and they scored the touchdown off of that.
Yeah.
So that's like a huge game-changing play. And you brought up before that, we thought Joyner healthy was going to be a serviceable safety, and it's looking a bit shaky early doors. Let's say.
Yeah, it's one of those where Whitehead, like 5 tackles, 1 assisted tackle. He's quite high up on the box chart ranking.
He played right, Whitehead did.
Yeah. But then you look at Joyner's 1 tackle.
Yeah.
And he had that hype behind him. I mean, I'm looking at that now, and you all know I am a fan of Ashton Davis.
And me.
Would have had more tackles. They would have scored. Right? I'm going to put it out there. I'm not saying they wouldn't have scored. They would have scored, but he would have hit more people.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, one person we've got to give a massive shout out before you go on to whatever you were going to say is DJ Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, the stick he got straight after that game wasn't deserved anyway.
Nobody knew they did, they?
But no, but it's not even that. Even the fact he just got his first interception in his first game for a team. Celebrate him, mate. I don't care what the scoreboard is. He did his job. But when finding out about what it's about, I mean, when you look at it, what he did, you knew there was something. You don't go, he's never done that before. So you look at it and go, there's something there. I mean, to even be playing in that game, right? If he doesn't play this week, it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
But I'm more than sure he will probably play. And the Browns will get picked off by DJ Reed. Like, I mean, just unbelievable. Like, I'm not saying anymore. That's it. I'm ending
Can I
it.
say what I was going to say?
Yeah, go for it.
It's back on the safety, actually, on the safety play.
Yeah.
Jordan. Both plays involved Sauce Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first one he's definitely not at fault for, or at least I don't think he was from looking at the coverage. It looks like he gets beat. The receiver gets behind him, and I think Joyner underestimates what Sauce Gardner has in the locker in terms of recovery speed, because the reason that Joyner fouls him is because he is trying to make a play on the ball because he thinks Sauce has been beaten. So he tries to go up and get the ball, makes a complete hash of it, don't get me wrong, but Sauce Gardner had actually recovered almost to a point where he was on the receiver's hip. If he'd have just let Sauce cover him like he was meant to, I think you're all good there. I don't think that's a huge one on Joyner. I think that's partly on a bit of playing with a new corner. I don't want to say it's on Sauce because I don't think it is. The second one, the second touchdown, that's where they've got to trust Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner was taken 4th overall for a reason. Don't put him in zone coverage. Let him run with that receiver. Sauce definitely gives up the receiver to the safeties because of the fact that they're running into a 2 deep zone, meaning both safeties in theory are somewhere near there. But the best route to beat 2 deep safeties is a post, run straight at one of them and then cut between the 2 of them. It's undefendable almost because neither of them are sprinting. And it's even worse when the corner stops because he is the one that's sprinting. It just creates huge gaps. They've got to, at some point, go, we might play zone on the rest of the players, but Sauce Gardner is going to play man, and just let him go, because he could have tracked the receiver all the way through the safeties, and I don't think that's ever a touchdown then. I think
that's pretty similar what we did with Revis, isn't it?
Yes, it was pretty much designed that Revis shut down half a field in man coverage-ish, and the rest dealt with everything else. The one thing it does mean is you become a little bit predictable having to cover a linebacker to that side, because the thing it creates, if it's in man coverage all the time and you send that receiver deep, there's always a flat option there because the receiver's gone, the corner's gone with the receiver, and you can't stop that because he's in man coverage. So you have to have a linebacker that can run to the flat. If the linebacker can run to the flat and take up the space that the corner in theory would, then it's not an issue. but it can create a little bit of a lopsided defense occasionally. But yeah, they've got to trust him. They've got to put him in man coverage more often.
Fair, absolutely. Play calling, guys. Does Lafleur need to grow some balls? That's the question. That would be my headline of the day. I think it's 3 times we were 4-1 or 4 and short, and he never went for it once. We're chasing a game. I know it's first game of the season and all that. We had the injuries, but we've talked about the play calling adjusting for Flacco. Joe Flacco can get 4-1. It doesn't matter which defense. If he's running it 3 times, twice he's going to get it. Do you go for it, James?
I do. I'm a aggressive Madden player. I like to go for So, but yeah, and I think definitely towards the end you've got to go for it. Second half, there's nothing to lose. Let's see what the boys can do. So yeah, I would.
Boys.
I find it a difficult one, and I sort of refer it back to my comment earlier. If we're the Bills or Kansas City, and you want to win that game because it might be the one that stops you getting home field advantage, you go for it because you've got to win to get home field advantage for your playoffs. If you're not going to get to the playoffs, 1 extra loss, 1 extra win probably isn't going to make or break anything. It's going to change a draft pick maybe, but it's not going to do anything major. I think if we'd have had Zach playing, he's more likely to go for it because you want to see what Zach can do. We know Flacco isn't the future. So why risk getting an offensive lineman hurt, Breece Hall hurt, Carter hurt, when really what we're all waiting for is the third season after Flacco's done. You want a full healthy offensive playmakers onwards. If we could put it this way, I suppose, if you could have a safe play call all the way until week 4 started, but I was going to guarantee you every offense for Zach Wilson, would you take it?
Yeah, it's one of them. For me, it's all about that kind of setting the precedent. Like all the time, we're talking about how aggressive and everything defense is going to be, and then offense comes out and just goes. There's just seems to be a little bit of fire that isn't there. I didn't notice if he was. Oh no, sorry, I did notice he was in the box when he was slagging off decisions, which the decision was terrible. The first penalty on Ruckert for holding. He got done for holding because the player fell over and he grabbed him as he fell. And it's like, dude, just let go. Let him fall. Don't try and stop him. Let him fall and it's his own fault. But yeah, it's just, I mean, obviously at the minute, the Twitterverse is calling for everybody's heads. They're the worst coaches that have ever been. In that 60 minutes, they became the worst coaches on the planet. I don't agree. I do think I want to see Lafleur get a bit more aggressive, a bit more creative, because even though we're running with Flacco, he can do more than what he's been doing. Like even like the play, like you mentioned, running the 4 wide receiver, do something.
Yeah,
it's like I feel at the minute I'm looking at a team and poking them with a stick, saying, "Come on, do something." Like that was a game to do something because nobody thought we could win it.
There's not a lot of motion either, and all the other teams that run our offense, there seems to be a lot more motion and like movement before the snap. There seems to be too much of that still this week.
I mean,
I agree with that.
Yeah, and you're not going to really catch the Ravens out. That defense.
It's not necessarily about catching them out, though. It's so the reason that you run motion is to tell you what the defense is playing, and it works every time. If you run Berrios from left to right, even if it does nothing for the actual play itself, it tells Joe Flacco if it's man or zone. Because if his corner follows him, it's man coverage. Well, I now know what I'm doing. If he doesn't follow him, it's zone coverage. And you know what you're doing. Not having some motion, even if it's as simple as putting a running back in the slot and pulling him into the backfield. The Packers do it loads. Put AJ Dillon or Aaron Jones in the slot and then call him back to Aaron Rodgers. If the linebacker goes out and lines up on the running back and then comes back into the middle of the field, you know it's man coverage. Or if the corner is there and the corner stays there, you know it's zone coverage. It's I don't necessarily think it's about the plays they're going to make from the motion. I think it's more about helping Joe Flacco and actually helping Zach Wilson.
Oh, it's fair.
But on motion, just one thing. I hope anybody saw the shovel pass that Patrick Mahomes threw on an incredible motion designed by Andy Reid. I don't know if any of you have seen it. If you haven't, definitely watch it. Andy Reid drew up an absolute peach. Literally an underhand short shovel pass by Patrick Mahomes, and the running back literally turns around and goes, "Oh," and just over the line. Everyone's gone. Everyone is just like, "Where'd the ball go?" And he's literally in the end zone. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, but that's exactly them, isn't it?
It's incredible. It's awesome.
So last thing before we go, guys, we're going to look a little bit forward into week 2.
Yep.
We're playing the 1-0 Cleveland Browns, which, to be honest, I don't know. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I've seen some.
It was a pretty lackluster second half from them. But I mean, don't get me wrong, they scored 26 points. So it was they still put a lot more than what we did on. It's really weird because I've just clicked onto it to get the box score. And I was just about to start giving you Baker Mayfield's, but obviously wrong team. Jacoby Brissett was 18 for 34, 147 yards and 1 TD.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb had 141 yards. I think you know that because I thought he was in your team, but it might not be. That was on 22. Now, everybody kind of says that we should be looking to limit their receivers, but I think it's pretty fair to say we know it's going to be a run game with Brissett now.
Yeah, and that's the way the Browns are set up, right? They've got a stellar offensive line. They've got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Why the hell wouldn't you run it? Give them 25 times each. Just let them go.
Kareem Hunt got 24 yards in receiving and 46 on the ground. But they did spread it around. I mean, Amari Cooper only got 3 catches.
Yeah.
But Donovan Peoples-Jones, DPJ, 60 yards off 6.
He's benefiting massively, isn't he, from Amari Cooper being double teamed all the time?
Yeah, all day long. And I mean, I picked him in 7 leagues.
Who, Amari Cooper or Donovan Peoples-Jones?
No, DPJ. He's my flex wide receiver. Because it's like that. Like, I know he can catch. Like, so I got like 12 points off him this week. It's not bad. I don't know how I feel about playing them because they are such a different team this year. Like, all over the board.
It's a winnable game for us.
I think they're all winnable.
Yeah, but this one's properly winnable. This one is, providing nothing stupid happens, we should beat the Cleveland Browns. We've got a good enough defense to limit them to less than 10 points if everyone plays properly.
Yeah, 100%. I massively agree. And I think we've also got a mental edge on them. I think even though we're a younger team, I think we're less temperamental than the Browns. Like, even the players that they've got, we know, have had times where their heads have gone in games. But it was good to see Grant Delpit play at the weekend. I mean, obviously, fan of his when he was in LSU. He comes into the league, gets injured. First game, interception.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a thing with him in safety, given the fact that it's Flacco. But I tend to agree with Otis. How about you, James?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm up and down about this. I think it's a winnable game for sure. I think the way we defended that run, I think they're going to be relying on it heavily. I think we can slow it down, get Brissett in some 3rd and longs. And then, yeah, I think it's just not making those mistakes, and it's, keeping those pass catchers down. Like, if we're going to make them throw, we need to, get some tip balls or something.
It's going to be a good test for Sauce, isn't it, seeing him play against Cooper?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you would think he would be against Cooper.
He's got to be, I think, yeah. That's the other thing as well, actually, talking about talking about Source just for 1 second. Surprised he didn't follow Rashad Bateman around.
Yeah, but then that's the thing. When you've got DJ Reed on the other side, who is a good corner.
Yeah. But so was Antonio Cromartie.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's that, like, I thought they would have targeted Source a lot more than what they did.
Yeah, and I did. But then if you don't have the number one wide receiver against him, it's harder to target him, right?
Yeah, it's that thing of earn your credibility, mate.
Yeah.
And the only thing is now, he's earned it in that game from a stats perspective, but it's that thing of, it's no disrespect to Bateman or Duvernay, but then they're not the best wide receivers he's going to see.
No,
I would say Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's the Browns' number 2, is a better wide receiver than Bateman and Duvernay.
Oh, I wouldn't. Bateman's better than Peoples-Jones.
I don't know. He's got honestly this year he'll show stuff.
He'll show stuff because he won't get any attention.
I think he's better. We'll see at the end of the year. We'll do a fantasy league, 1 player each. You can have Bateman and I'll take DPJ. All in all, what are you thinking? Do you want to give a score, or do you want to kind of give something that's going to happen?
Give me 13-10, old school football. Smashing heads.
So 13-10 Jets or 13-10 either way?
Jets.
What we saying, Otis?
24-10 Jets. My prediction is Sauce Gardner pick 6.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I reckon we could definitely intercept Brissett at least 2 or 3. But then again, if he ain't throwing,
we'll make him throw.
Well, he'll have to, because I don't think Kareem Hunt and Chubb will be any more. Well, no, sorry, they will be more effective than Lamar's team, but Lamar is more dynamic than the other two.
If you manage to limit them both to less than 100 yards between the two, the Browns are really easy to beat. But it's keeping Chubb and Hunt under a combined 100 yards. That's tough.
Yeah, I think penalties has to be massively reduced on us this time. We can't give penalties away.
Certainly not big penalties. That's our biggest problem.
This is how the Panthers were beaten at the weekend. They give 100 yards in penalties away.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's more than their running backs. So yeah, I think it's one of them. We've got a Twitter space on Thursday before the game. We've got a couple of Browns fans coming on just to find out their inside scoop, because I feel like we know our team really well. We'll get them on. It's literally talking football. There ain't going to be no trash talk until the end. But thanks for joining us, guys. Give us a like, a share, a follow, subscribe on YouTube, and we will see you again soon.